You came here for something new. The spirit of competition runs through your veins. And who am I to disappoint?
The next Fallout.
Yes, I kicked off this Fallout 76 video showing you Sea of Thieves, but there does have some relevance. I am Jay Plays Games. This is what's happening. A look at games much closer, whether or not they're in development, they're brand new, some big problem, controversy, or whether or not it's taking a look at a game and its updates and what's happening or changing with it. Today we're going to be going over the Fallout 76 survival news. This came out on Friday and last week. Bunch of information is revealed over the last few days. Although we're still looking for more, it does seem that Fallout 76 is about to have its own dedicated PvP servers. We will be discussing that, and we will be discussing some of the problems that Fallout 76 has faced. This isn't a video to defend Fallout 76, but it is a video to talk about the future, because there has to be a future for this game. I think Bethesda have spent way too much money, way too much time into it just to jettison it off. So they are going to be adding PvP update. And I wanted to take a look at some other games that have had the comeback. Fallout 76 I don't think is maybe going to be able to do that, but certainly the next update that they're going to add in terms of this PvP combat I think is really important for the long-term longevity of the game. Can Fallout 76 stop disappointing fans? Can Bethesda stop making stupid decisions? Who knows, but it's going to be fun and interesting seeing what happens with development of this latest stage of Fallout 76. I'm Jay Plays Games, let's go, it's what's happening.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River.
Yes, it's another segue. I'm not doing this just for fun, but I'm really trying to paint the picture that Fallout 76 could have been a much different game if it had launched with its PvP focus first. It was way back before the game was initially announced officially that we had rumours it was going to be very much based like Rust, like DayZ. As I mentioned earlier, when Fallout 76 was first leaked by Kotaku, they said it was very much like these games. Obviously they saw an early build, or whoever was talking to them. I generally believe there was much more to PvP than we actually got at launch. PvP in Fallout 76 is pretty wank. It's just really shit. It doesn't work. It's definitely catered too much to that PvE crowd who are maybe not used to these type of games, and maybe it was the right decision in Bethesda's mind. They're making a brand new Fallout experience. It's already got so many different changes, no story, hasn't got the world building like previous games, and of course it's multiplayer. Maybe in their eyes it was all too much. However, imagine if they did launch with the PvP intact. It would have certainly have pissed off a large variety, a large portion of the Fallout fanbase, but you may have actually gained a loyal, dedicated following. Here's why. Rust is pretty much the #1 survival game on the Steam charts right now. It's just had its most successful month ever after 5 years, nearly 6, of active development. Fully releasing out of early access last February 2018, Rust has gone on from strength to strength. During that whole period, there hasn't been many times it's dipped below 20,000 players. And for the last year to 18 months, they've always had more than 45 to 50,000 players daily. Fallout 76 is not available on Steam, of course, so we can't track exactly how many players are there. But we have to take into account how many people are watching the game on Twitch, how much interest there is in the game on YouTube, and generally looking on my console lists. That's the way I gauge how popular the game currently is. Also take into effect they've reduced the price multiple times, and you can pretty much get Fallout 76 for around $20 to $25 in most areas and regions. That indicates the game just hasn't sold as well as it should have done and are desperate to get more players involved. Now, of course, Rust is very different from Fallout 76. It was extremely different even before we heard rumours of Fallout 76 having some sort of PvP focus. It is very hardcore. It is really hardcore. It's not for the poor PvE little lambs who are maybe used to sort of helping each other and building worlds together. It is literally kill or be killed at every single turn. But hopefully I've denoted it as a passionate following. It's really popular and it's definitely got more players playing Rust than there probably are playing Fallout 76. Given that it's only available on Steam, that is a huge achievement. Facepunch, the developers behind Rust, actively listened to their community, added content every single week, and it was generally considered the benchmark, how to run your online persistent world and how to run a really good focused PvP game. The same cannot be said for Bethesda, who have infinite more resources, have had major big companies, parts of their division working on this game overall, different studios, all supposedly contributing to make their biggest game yet. It turns out Todd was talking a load of shit. Turns out they really didn't have that many people working on this game, and it certainly wasn't the biggest game they've worked on. Maybe the biggest in ideas of changing something, but what that translated to was a buggy, horrible mess with PR disaster after PR disaster. That is generally the description given for Fallout 76. I found Fallout 76 palatable. I found it okay, and that's a disappointment that it was only okay for me, but I wasn't overly upset that it bombed. I wasn't overly upset that it just didn't have the features or the things that people wanted in it. I was disappointed it didn't have PvP focus, because when it originally launched, I'd done a bunch of videos talking about how it could be one of the biggest games going if it focused more on PvP and the survival aspects. So how the survival mode is going to work is, when you log in, you'll have your choice to click adventure or survival beta. The survival beta will let you transfer your character from adventure, and you can go out into the world and do exactly the same missions, exactly the same quests that you found in adventure mode, but in survival mode beta. The difference, of course, is that in survival mode, PvP is much more fierce. People can come straight up to you, shoot you, and you will receive full damage. None of this bullshit about some dueling effect or dueling action, or you've got to accept the duel. If someone creeps up on your ass and blasts you with a shotgun, chances are you're going to take a fair amount of damage. I love this idea, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to love this idea too. Now, they're still ironing out the kinks. They haven't actually clarified what happens when you do kill a player, other than getting some extra bottle caps and maybe some aid items. We're not too sure what the penalties are for when a player dies. Are they going to lose more gear? Would they lose items or guns? I don't think it's going to go that far. I still think it's going to be quite minuscule what you'll lose, but they have said you're going to get more caps when you kill another player in this way, and they're going to take out some features like the revenge option. Instead, you will just spawn at your camp or Fallout 76 vault. The beta won't go live until March at the earliest, and they've still said that's tentative, and they've still got a bunch of other fixes and improvements coming to the game before then. But this is going to be the substantial update, the free content update that Bethesda promised, that Fallout 76 would receive content continuously, keeping it fresh, keeping players playing it. This is the first steps. Is it going to amount to a comeback? I wasn't just promoting Sea of Thieves when I first kicked off this video, it had a point. Sea of Thieves is undergoing a resurgence. In the last 4 to 5 months, it has steadily seen an increase in players, much helped by some Twitch streamers in the last 6 weeks or so. However though, we've always known about their PvP content coming. Of course, Sea of Thieves is already PvP focused, but they've got a brand new mode called the Arena, which is going to offer distinct, separate PvP game modes or game action that will be very different from what you're used to experiencing in the general Sea of Thieves world. It's considered that Sea of Thieves launched with no content. It didn't have the right content in place, and it seemed like it was underprepared and it was under-delivering. Over the last 6 months though, they have steadily added free content patches that have kept players playing it who are hardcore and loyal to the game, and also started to attract brand new players. There are many games that have undergone comebacks. You could talk about Rainbow Six as well, but these are more about survival games or open world game natures, and this is why I think they're relevant to Fallout 76. No Man's Sky is probably the greatest example though. Absolutely crucified at launch. One of the most successful games selling for the PS4 at the time, and on Steam, sold a bunch of copies. So many people bitterly disappointed in the weeks that followed that the game was just boring. It didn't contain anything that the developers had said from the traders, from the talks, the interviews. Lots of it was missing. Now this goes down as one of the biggest betrayals in gaming. Have Bethesda done that same level? Did they get to that same stage? Some would argue yes, because of the company that Bethesda are, being huge, being big, compared to the way that Hello Games and No Man's Sky launched. It was more of an issue, more of a betrayal that Bethesda would release something like Fallout 76 in the state it was. Broken, not working, not enough content, and basically not enough to keep fans of the long time franchise happy. But of course, No Man's Sky didn't stop. Over the next 2 years they had consistent update after update. These updates sometimes took a few months, but in the latter half of 2018 the updates were coming almost monthly for this game. Overall, the next update, which added true multiplayer to the game, really cemented the comeback for No Man's Sky. Can Fallout 76 do the same with brand new modes? Maybe it won't be the survival beta, maybe it's going to be too much for long-time fans who just want to explore and do things together in groups as friends. It won't be enough to keep them playing it. But I think it's a start, and I can't sit here and say Bethesda deserve it. I can't say they deserve a second chance. But what I can say is this: my interest was piqued by Fallout because of the idea of PvP, or more survival aspects. When I started learning that the game didn't have as much hardcore survival as I expected, I did start losing a little bit of interest in it. And I've never been a big Fallout fanboy. I pretty much say this in every video to get across I'm not here to defend them. What I can say though is I'm very interested in a survival mode. I'm very interested in a PvP mode where possibly it could have updates added where you can go and take other players' bases out. Maybe it'll add things where players' bases are persistent. I still think there's definitely a little bit of legwork to go, and I don't think Bethesda are ready to make their game like Rust or DayZ or like Ark. I still think they're going to have these servers where your base disappears when you go offline. But certainly, real player versus player combat I think will change the landscape of Fallout 76. I think it will bring a lot of players forward who really got bored quickly, and maybe them players didn't want PvP at the start, but now they've been playing the game, now they've sunk a few hundred hours in, seen how repetitive the missions are, and even though it's a great world to explore, it's filled with all sorts of different creatures, it still just has a cycle of life that is going to be very short. Player versus player interaction helps with that. Todd Howard spoke a lot about the stories that Fallout 76 would tell, how it would have good guys and villains, and we've just not seen the villains. You've not got a chance to be a villain in Fallout 76. But that's what games like DayZ and Rust offer, a chance for players to create their own stories more, to create their own fun more, rather than just going after the generic AI of the game. Now, there are some minefields to get past. We don't know if you're going to be able to take character progress over in terms of your items. Maybe it will just be your perk cards you can carry over. There is a big problem if people are taking their high level powered armor and weapons over to the survival betas. But some of the posts that I've been reading and looking into today, and some clarification from Bethesda, kind of lean towards player scaling still being there. So even if you do come across someone who's come straight over from adventure mode, has got full suited armor, full weapons, you still be able to do considerable damage to them because of the player scaling, rather than worrying about them being too OP. And we might finally get more use out of some of the PvP focused cards. A lot of the perk cards that were data mined and still haven't really been produced in the game really signified that it was always in their mind to add a more hardcore PvP component. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do with different perk cards that will go with the Survival Plus beta. I got absolutely crucified when I initially told you guys about Fallout 76 being an online game, being PvP focused. It really was one of them situations where the Fallout fanboys came out in droves to defend their game and say it wasn't going to be like this. It would contain single player, it would contain this and that. And you know, history now shows us that none of that really happened. It was exactly how Bethesda slowly told us. It was going to be an online game. It was going to be not the Fallout experience you're used to, but something different. But they never went different enough, and I think again that was a whole issue. You couldn't keep your original fans happy, and so trying to get some new people to come play the game was my whole argument in lots of my videos. Don't cater to the Fallout fanboys because they're not going to be happy with this game. Try and reach out. Try and reach out to get new fans involved in this game. Now I say that in jest, I'm not being disrespectful calling you a Fallout fanboy. There's nothing wrong in wanting a game to be how you've always liked it, or to have a fresh experience that still contains many of the good features from games you've previously loved. But my thoughts are now the same, even more reinforced as they were then. Reaching out to the survival crowd, reaching out to the PvP crowd was going to be a better bet in terms of long-term longevity for this game than trying to appease fans that just weren't ready for this type of game. Fallout 76 does have some people that enjoy it. It does have people that are playing it. When I do look on my friends list, and I've got thousands of people on my friends lists across different platforms, I can see quite a large portion of people, but not many people are watching it. And that's because the gameplay does just get a little bit stale, and there's only so many moments you can capture that are original when you're faced against AI. And that's the greatest strength of opening it up, of Survival Plus being there, is the different storytelling, is the different encounters you'll come across. There'll always be good times and bad times. I think a lot of people won't really like the fact they're going to get shot from behind, or there may be issues where people are just sniping them and trolling them. But that is all part and parcel of a game like this, and I think it's what Fallout 76 has always needed. I am Jay Plays Games. This has been a discussion about Fallout 76 survival mode, giving you some information, giving you some background of why I think it's going to be a great move. I don't think it's going to rescue it completely. I still think Fallout 76 has a long way to go before becoming a great game, just like No Man's Sky or possibly other games like Sea of Thieves, but I think this is the start. I'm going to be following this with interest. It may draw me back in for sure. I'll definitely give the survival a go, as that's the game mode I would most be interested in. Hit this video up with a like. If you want to hear more about game news in depth, make sure you check out my What's Happening videos every Monday, Wednesday and Fridays. I am Jay Plays Games. I will see you ratbags later.
For when the fighting is stopped and the fallout has settled, you must rebuild. Not just walls, not just buildings, but hearts and minds, and ultimately, America itself.